and in the 16th century we got Fox's Book of Martyrs. The message in these and similar books was that these lives were great and worthy of emulation. Having role models and heroes was historically a vital way of helping a new generation know what it should be aiming at. This is one of the main reasons I wrote biographies of William Wilberforce, Amazing Grace, William Wilberforce and the Heroic Campaign to End Slavery, and Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Bonhoeffer, pastor, martyr, prophet, spy. By the way, one of the last books that Bonhoeffer himself was reading just before he died was Plutarch's Lives. So the idea of having heroes and role models has historically been very important. But as I say, somehow this has changed in recent years. What happened? Question authority. Part of what happened is that, since roughly the late 1960s, we've adopted the idea that no one is really in a position to say what's right or wrong. So we're loath to point to anyone as a good role model. Who am I to judge anyone has almost become the mantra of our age. But how did that happen? Well, it's complicated, but it probably has something to do with the Vietnam War and with Watergate. Without a doubt, these events helped accelerate a trend towards suspicion of the official version of things and of our leaders. Until Vietnam, all previous wars were generally seen as worthy of fighting, and the overwhelming cultural message was that patriotic Americans must do their duty and pitch in and help defend our country and our freedoms. With Vietnam, all that changed. Ditto with Watergate. For the first time in history, thanks mainly to the taped conversations in the White House, we saw and heard a U.S. president not acting presidential at all, but acting ignobly and venally and shamefully. We heard him use words we wouldn't want our children to use. So the authority of that president, Richard Nixon, rightfully came under intense scrutiny. But since then, all our leaders have been held in deep suspicion, and we've tended to focus on the negative things about famous people. Every negative soundbite of a TV preacher that can be aired will be heard 1,000 times more than the good things he said. It's hard to have heroes in a climate like that. We've even extended this idea backward through history, so that much of what we hear about our past presidential heroes is negative. George Washington is no longer thought of mainly as the heroic father of our country, but as a wealthy landowner who hypocritically owned slaves. Many of us have forgotten the outrageous and spectacular sacrifices that he made, and for which every American ought to be endlessly grateful. This is not only disgraceful, it's profoundly harmful to us as a nation. Columbus isn't held up as a brave and intrepid visionary who risked everything to discover a new world. He's considered a murderer of indigenous peoples. It's true that thoughtless idol worship is never a good thing, but being overly critical of men who are otherwise good can also be tremendously harmful, and it has been. So the very idea of legitimate authority has been damaged. Since I was a kid in the 70s, we've had bumper stickers that said, "Question authority." But this didn't just mean we should question whether authority is legitimate, which would be a good idea. No, it seemed to me to go beyond that. It seemed to say that we should question the very idea of authority itself. So you could say that we've gone all the way from foolishly accepting all authority to foolishly rejecting all authority. We've gone from the extreme of being naive to the other extreme of being cynical. The golden mean, where we would question authority in order to determine whether it was legitimate, was passed by entirely. We have fled from one icy